Every area of the immigration system, work, family and study, will be tightened up so we have more control.
The British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has set out plans to reduce net migration numbers. They include doubling the time migrants will need to reside in the UK before claiming citizenship. There are also plans to tighten English tests for all visa applicants and their adult dependents. Mr. Starmer had previously promised to overhaul what he called a broken immigration system. There's been public pressure on politicians in Britain to reduce the number of people coming into the UK, but efforts to achieve this have been as difficult as they have been controversial. The British government's plans will most likely impact countries like China, India, and Nigeria.
So as this white paper sets out, every area of the immigration system, work, family and study, will be tightened up so we have more control. Skill requirements raised to degree level. English language requirements across all routes, including for dependents. The time it takes to acquire settled status extended from 5 years to 10. And enforcement tougher than ever, because fair rules must be followed. Now, make no mistake, this plan means migration will fall.
And that's the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from London by Arise correspondent Lape Olarinoye. Thanks for joining us, Lape. Some would say it's not easy to come to the UK anyway. I mean, ask a lot of the people who queue up to get their sort of visas. But what sort of numbers are we looking at here? Because I understand UK government modelling could cut immigration numbers by up to 100,000 a year.
Yes, that is the projection, but if that will happen is still currently uncertain. Now, this white paper that has been stipulated by the Labour government, for some, it's not a shock. Over the last couple of years, we know that immigration has been the centre of debate politically and socially, and we're seeing that, of course, come to the fore. Now, for this white paper, which it's worth noting here, Charles, these are just a few suggestions that could go through Parliament, and it's policy suggestions. Some, of course, would need to be reviewed and changed in some ways. Now, some of the ones that have really stood out are the indefinite leave to remain, which currently stands at 5 years. This white paper under the leadership of Mr. Starmer is saying that that time is going to double to 10 years. That could affect those who want to come to the country and those already here that have spent money and have put a lot of money into the economy. Of course, there's a clause there that there could be a point-based system looking at how much they've contributed to the economy and what type of profile that they have. Now, in terms of education as well, international students are said to be a bit more scrutinized, looking at their financial sponsors, how much they have, and how that will affect their applications is also up for debate as well. The numbers that you ask of, Charles, Mr. Starmer has assured the British public that these numbers will certainly go down, is what he's saying so far. By the end of this Parliament is what he wants, but he's saying that definitely before the next general election in the next 4 years. That is a bold statement. Like I said, whether that will happen or not is still uncertain, but the measures that are currently put in place are definitely tougher than what we've seen so far under the former leadership of the Conservative Party.
And we're also hearing that part of the new immigration rules is to restrict visas from countries where there is a likelihood of people overstaying, and Nigerians topped that list. I mean, is there a sense that perhaps they're being singled out?
A little bit. In fact, some on the left, some of the politicians on the left have said that this kind of white paper and the content of it is actually just responding to the scaremongering that we've seen from the far right parties like the Reform Party, who made a lot of gains at the last local election just a few weeks ago, when the results of those local elections came out, and we saw that the Reform Party, under the leadership of Nigel Farage, was starting to pick up a lot of seats. And so a lot on the left are saying that actually this is just a response to that scaremongering. And we're seeing that Nigerians particularly are being singled out. But of course, that comes at for a reason. There is a lot of exploitation that has been identified in types of visas, in how visas are acquired, in the types of jobs that people are doing. And unfortunately, those observations have happened to come from the Nigerian community, but not just the Nigerian community, other ethnic communities like the Southeast Asian as well. So there is a certain singling out or alienating, if you like, to those communities. But actually, there's also an alternative suggestion on this white paper, which is that actually people that are the brightest and the best are still have a standing in this country, still have the opportunity to apply for skilled visas on the name of global talent, where people that are in science, tech, and the likes still have the opportunity of contributing to the UK economy and being able to follow that route. So for some, that's new to their ears, especially very talented and creative Nigerians that may have been debating that option as well. But actually, for those here who have come here to help an ailing health and social care industry, this is not going to be good news, particularly because we have a lot of Nigerians in this country working in health and social care.
So for many Nigerians, for instance, who want to study in the UK, is it likely they'll now be looking away from the UK and at other countries, or possibly study at universities in Nigeria?
A good question you asked there, Charles. Now, this, of course, is a doubling down from Keir Starmer. We know that just towards the end of the Tory leadership, there were very radical changes to the international student visa. For the fact, for one being that students were no longer allowed to bring their dependents with them, something that we saw an increase of in the last couple of years, where students will come along with families, which meant that anybody could study now. There were older students, more mature students that could come with their families and come and study here. The government is saying that that has been exploited. And so for that reason, that was cracked down on. But actually now it's gone even further, looking into their financials with a very fine-tooth comb, looking at how students are performing at university to justify their stay. We know that that can definitely impact not just the students, but also the universities, who rely heavily on international students for funding. And so for that reason, there is a sense and there is a trend that's been happening before this white paper was announced, that students, prospective international students, should I say, will now be looking elsewhere. Australia is coming up as one of those top areas as an alternative destination, and other parts of the world like Europe. Other parts of Europe, should I say. So yes, it does mean that people are looking away, but also the financial implications as well. Studying abroad is just a very much an expensive thing to do. So there could be a potential that many prospective international students, particularly from Nigeria, may have to go back to the drawing board and consider possibly online options, or even looking for more local universities in Nigeria to study in.
Lape, thanks very much indeed. Lape Olarinoye is a RISE correspondent. She was talking to me on the line from London.